Well, from what I understand from my mother, may her memory be a blessing, Frida Jacoby Brown, my grandfather, Israel Jacoby, was born here in Trestiny in 1892. And his father, Nathan Jacoby, owned a brush factory right here in Trzcianne Trestiny. And they were fairly wealthy. His two brothers, Joseph and Meyer, left for the United States about, I think, after the 1906 Bialystok pogrom. And he left in 1910, about then, for America. And I knew him. He died in 1957. He, from what my mother tells me, he was a very good student. After his bar mitzvah, the rabbi said he had nothing else to teach him. His name was Israel Jacoby, and he was rebellious. He cut off his payas, my mother told me, after his bar mitzvah, and went to Warsaw, ran away from home. And when he came to America, Israel Jacoby worked like many Jews and many Italians at the time in a garment factory. He went to, they lived on the Lower East Side in New York on St. Mark's Place. He went to Cooper Union, which at the time was a free college, and studied engineering. My mother said he really wanted to be a doctor. They didn't take doctors easily into medical school, but he couldn't get a job. His name was still Israel Jacoby. They didn't hire Jews in those days, 1920. So he and my grandmother, Minnie Jacoby, for many years sold herring and other things in a little store in the Bronx. And he died when he was pretty young, probably 10 years older than I am now. I'm now 76. I was born in 1947 in New York City.
What kind of business they owned in Trestiny?
They owned, Israel and Minnie, my grandmother, owned what in those days was called an appetizing store. They sold lox and herring and candy, and he probably worked 365 days a year.
But in Trestiny?
Oh, in Trestiny, my great-grandfather Nathan and his wife Gertrude Grossberg, that was her original name. Nathan Jacoby had, from what my mother tells me, a brush factory, and they made brushes and had a factory here. And right here in Trestiny, that's what they did, and were fairly, according to my mother, successful. My great-grandfather, Nathan Jacoby, had a seat on the Eastern Wall in the synagogue. One of his sons was the shamus at that shul. He died, as we understand it, during the Holocaust. He had many brothers and sisters. Simcha was his name, Simcha Jacoby. He was the shamus in the synagogue here, one of them in Trestiny.
Why? What are you doing here? Why you came here?
I wanted to see where my grandfather was born. I'd never been here. I didn't really know what I'd find. I'm very grateful to you, Tomek, for having done all this work to find these cemeteries, which are now, abandoned. The matzevot have been stolen.
But there's your name.
But my name is here. Part of my roots are here. So I didn't know what it would be like, but I'm very glad I came. I'm very grateful for you for showing me where this is. And I know this is part of who I am. I mean, my great-grandfather, who I never knew, of course, is buried somewhere right here. And I'm glad I could say Kaddish for him. So thank you. I'm glad I could be here.